Okay, welcome everybody. Today we're doing phrasal verbs with go. We're in a new location, so I'm sure it won't be perfect, but let's not worry about that. Let's still go through these phrasal verbs anyway, and I hope in the next few weeks I will sort out some curtains on the window and on the door and some better lighting in this room, because I'm aware that the lighting isn't good at the moment. Okay, so let's start with go on. Go on you should be very familiar with. I say this all the time to my students when I want them to keep talking. I say go on, carry on, elaborate. So go on can mean continue, and it's very often used like elaborate, go further into detail. A bit like how we say go into, meaning discuss in detail. We'll go into that phrasal verb in a little while. But go on, it means continue, like carry on, so please remember carry on as well. And you can also say what's going on, meaning what's happening. So I think that there's at least two meanings to go on. Now, go on doesn't stop there, it goes on, because we have go on for, and we have go on about, and we have go on at someone about something. But let's start with go on for. Go on for simply means last. How long did the meeting go on for? How long did the meeting last? It went on for 3 hours. So it's very often used with time expressions. It went on for 5 minutes. It went on for 3 weeks. The course went on for 3 years. Whatever. Okay, go on at someone about something. And you don't need to say who you're going on at. You could just say go on about something, meaning drone on about something, waffle on about something, ramble on about something, bang on about something. There are literally hundreds of variations on this particular phrasal verb, and it means to keep speaking about something so that it actually gets annoying. If you continually... So I continually go on about phrasal verbs because they're very useful for a lot of the advanced exams. For example, CAE always tests phrasal verbs, but many of the other exams test them as well. And anyway, if you want to speak fluently in English, you really need to know these, because I guarantee that all native speakers use all of these really rather often as well, perhaps more often than their Latin equivalents. So yeah, I go on about phrasal verbs all the time. But please don't forget keep on at someone about, drone on at someone about, waffle on about, rabbit on about. They're all really good phrasal verbs to remember, and I've gone on about them before in other phrasal verb lessons. Okay, if you go ahead with something, actually it's very often has the particle with as well. There's my pen, here's my pen, so I ought to put that in brackets. Go ahead with something. It means proceed with something. So you could say, did the festival go ahead as planned? You can also say, did the festival go off as planned? And that's why I've got happen as planned here. But here it just means proceed. Did it happen? Did it proceed? Was it carried out as planned? So if you say that I'm still waiting for the government to go ahead with Brexit, you might remember that I was in favour of that, and we're waiting at the moment for the Prime Minister to go ahead with with the result of this vote. So go ahead can mean proceed. Go through means examine something. You can go through exercises, you can go through phrasal verbs, you can go through a document. You can go through a list of points in, I don't know, in some kind of coursework. You can go through anything really, and it's exactly the same as go over. Examine, go through, go over a document, go through a document, go over some phrasal verbs, go through some phrasal verbs. So it means examine, but there is a second meaning to go through, where it has this element of difficulty, experience difficulties. So you could go through a divorce, because obviously this is quite a painful process and it's not a particularly pleasant process. So go through is experience something unpleasant, experience something difficult. And if you go through with something, you proceed in spite of difficulty. So here it's a little bit like the go ahead, but you proceed in spite of difficulty. So you might say, well, this happened to me recently. I'm not particularly keen on hospitals or doctors or operations, and I was asked to go in for an x-ray. To go in for, it's not even on the board, is it? But I mean to go in the hospital for an x-ray, and I decided not to go through with it because I felt like I'd already got better anyway. And so to go through with something is to proceed in spite of difficulty. A lot of my students said, oh, you should have gone through with that operation. You should have proceeded, even though it was difficult. But I decided not to. Okay, if you go for someone, you could be attacking them, you could be criticising them, you could be aiming for them with a gun. If you're going for them, you could be aiming for them. If you go for goal when you're playing football, you're shooting, you're going for the goal, you're aiming for the goal. So it also means aim for, and you might say that athlete is going for gold, meaning he's aiming for the gold. He wants nothing but the gold. But you could also say that this piece of equipment went for £50. This microphone went for £20. Not a very good microphone. I'm getting a new one. But to go for, it could mean to be sold for. And lastly, it can even just mean like choose. If you're in a restaurant and you go for steak, it means you choose steak. If you go for chicken, you choose the chicken. So it can, and you can say, what did you go for? What did you choose? If you're in the restaurant with your friends. So go for can also mean choose, and I quite often hear it used like that. So it's another nuance of these go phrasal verbs. Okay, if you go in for a competition, this collocates very well with competition or tournament or something like that, because it means participate. It means participate in a competition or in a tournament. So this one's really rather common as well, to go in for a competition. I used to hear my students, when I was abroad, they would very often say, I go in for sports. And I found that a little bit unnatural, if I'm honest. I don't often hear people say, I go in for sports. It sounds to me old-fashioned. It sounds like an old usage of the term go in for. So I'm not sure I recommend using it in that way. But go in for a competition, go in for a tournament, certainly. Okay, if you go without something, you cope with not having something that you usually have. Now this is very similar to do without or live without. You could say something like a camel can go without water for a very long time, and it means it can live without water, it can survive without water, it can do without water for a very long time because it lives in the desert. Okay, if something goes out, well, if someone goes out, they're probably socialising or just leaving the house, maybe just leaving the house. They've gone out maybe to go to the shops. They may not be socialising, but often it is used for socialising. And I've forgotten one here. If you go out with someone, this means to date someone in British English, certainly. To go out with someone would mean your boyfriend and girlfriend. You're going out with her, you're meeting her perhaps at the restaurant, cinema, wherever. But if a light goes out, then it stops giving light. Maybe there's a fault, maybe there's a power cut, maybe the bulb simply stops working, in which case the light goes out. But a fire can also go out, so it also means stop burning. And here it's very similar to the phrasal verb put out, which means extinguish. You remember you put out a fire, the fireman puts out the fire, so the fire goes out. So a fire can go out as well, it's very important. Go off has a number of meanings. Firstly, a firework can go off, an alarm can go off, a bomb can go off, a siren can go off, and all of them mean the siren is activated, the firework is activated, the alarm is activated. I think we often use this with noise as well, a noise goes off, but it has to be from some kind of mechanical machine, like an alarm or a siren or something like that. So it could mean be activated. You could just mean leave as well. He went off 3 minutes ago. I think that's not as common as he left or he went away, but you can use it as leave. He went off a few hours ago. And also it can mean happen as planned. So did the meeting go off As planned, we often use the as planned as well with go off as planned. Did the meeting take place as planned? Did it happen as planned? Okay, if prices go down, they decrease. If somebody goes down the stairs, they descend. I think this is a very easy one. Everyone should know it already. If you go down for something, this usually means sent to prison for something. So you go down for 10 years maybe, or go down for murder. You could do it with the term, the jail term, the length of the sentence, or you could even put the crime which you went down for. I think we use it in both situations. He went down for murder, he went down for 10 years. And here it's very similar to send someone down or put someone away. Okay, if you go by someone, you pass them. Yeah, if you walk by them, you pass them. You go by them, you pass them. But also, we use it for names, be named. So I might say, I go by Dave Teffel on Skype. I go by the name of Dave Teffel on Skype. Or I go by the nickname. We often say go by the name of or go by the nickname. But it's not necessary, and you could just say I go by Dave Teffel on Skype. And lastly, and this one's perhaps the most important one, going by can mean according to. So you might say, going by the latest statistics, it appears there is a recession. Or going by what my mate told me, they have already split up. Yeah, according to here, it just means going by according to. And it doesn't have to be in the gerund form. You'd say something like, if we go by what he says, I mean, if we listen to what he says, then this follows. Here it gets very similar to if we go along with what he says, if we support what he says, if we believe in what he says. So yeah, go by is very similar to this go along with. Okay? Very important one, that one, because that's very, very common. If you have any questions about that one, ask them under the video and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, if you go after someone, you chase them. Maybe you run after them, maybe you walk after them, but you chase them. You can also use this in a second way where you have your turn after somebody else, you have your go after somebody else. So maybe you're playing a board game and you say, I will go after my son. And it means that you will have your turn after him. Okay, if you go over a document, you go through a document, and if you go back over a document, it means you go through it one more time. If you go back through a document, you go through it one more time. So you can add that back to make this phrasal verb mean one more time. Okay, if you go into a room, you enter a room, but if you go into a problem or an issue, then you discuss it in detail. So I'm trying to go into phrasal verbs today. I'm trying to discuss them in detail, and we could go into lots of different subjects. I have gone into a lot of different grammar topics, and I plan to do a lot more now I have a place to make YouTube videos and not my bedroom. So I'm very pleased about having this new cabin. Okay, if you go back on your word, you failed to keep your promise. You failed to keep your word. So it's not a good thing. It's quite a negative phrasal verb, and I want you to remember that if you take back your word, you retract what you said earlier. So I think this one's connected. As all phrasal verbs are connected actually, and it's important to see the relationship between these different phrasal verbs, and that's why I keep repeating old ones all the time. Okay, if you go around someone or something, it could just mean that you avoid bumping into them. Maybe somebody is standing in your way, and so you go around him. This is the literal meaning of go around. But you can also say the teenagers went around throwing rubbish all over the streets. And here it means spent time doing something unpleasant. You could even say he went around calling me an idiot, meaning he went around telling everybody that I was an idiot. So it's very often used like this, spend time doing something really nasty. And here it will be very negative, and it's always plus a gerund after it, as most phrasal verbs are. Okay, if you go along with someone, then you support their idea or opinion. Maybe you don't actually support it, but you decide to, for the next few minutes, just hypothetically, suppose what would happen if you did go along with their idea or their opinion. Okay, and here it gets very close to going by. So if I go along with what I'm not sure. If I go along with what the teacher says, then perhaps the teacher tells me that 2 + 3 equals 4. If I go along with what he says, I just agree with that particular idea just for the sake of argument. Okay, I mean, of course it's not true, but this is what I mean. You can go along with someone. It's not necessarily support, but maybe hypothetically support, supposing I did support that idea. But you can go along with someone and support them as well. Okay, and if you go with someone, you can accompany them somewhere. Or if you say your tie goes with your shirt, it means your tie matches your shirt. If you say your shoes go with your jacket, it means your shoes match your jackets. They suit, they go well together. Okay, if you have any questions here about any of them, I may have failed to explain some very clearly. Please ask under the video about any of these words, but please check in a dictionary first. I know some people don't like me telling students to use a dictionary, but I believe that if you don't use a dictionary, you'll never learn new words. You need to use a dictionary in order to check new words, and the best place to see sentences with these phrasal verbs in them is on the internet. I mean, you don't have to use Oxford or Cambridge. There are many places you could use to find examples of these phrasal verbs. So please check first, but ask questions underneath, and good questions I will always try to answer as quickly as possible. Okay, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all soon.